Chapter 29, popping in for a little early morning recording sesh. I know you guys have no idea when I do these videos, but I have the most energy during the morning, so I try to get it out of the way while I'm in good spirits in this mystery studio that only I know the location of. We left off with Jacob having a dream about a stairway to heaven, which I always thought was a ladder. And I don't actually know what the purpose of the story was, because all that really happens is he praises God at the end. I'm assuming that happens a lot in this book. There's a lot of just praise God to do it. So we're continuing with Jacob's story. The title for this one, chapter 29, is Jacob Arrives in Padan Aram. I still don't know where that is. It's another one of those things. Maybe I should start using those maps that are in the back of the Bible. I flipped to it a few episodes ago because I didn't even know it was there. I have Jerusalem in the time of Jesus. Paul's missionary journeys. Oh, we're getting a preview of what's to come. Italy's on here. Jesus' ministry. Kingdom of David and Solomon. Land of the 12 tribes. Exodus and conquest of Canaan. And this is the last one. World of the patriarchs. And it shows the Hittites, who we've learned about. The patriarchy. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Jacob arrives in Padan Aram. Then Jacob continued on his journey and came to a land of the eastern peoples. How east can they be if we're in the Middle East? There he saw a well. That would have been a very different story. There he saw a well in the open country with 3 flocks of sheep lying near it because the flocks were watered from that well. Ugh. Why do I always start off so many of my videos needing to sneeze? I know I rub my eye, but what I'm really doing is using my palm on the outside of the wall of my nose. Now my eye's watering. 3 flocks of sheep lying near it because the flocks were watered from that well. The stone over the mouth was... The stone over the mouth of the well was large. So is there like a covering on the... How do the sheep drink from it if there's a stone covering on it? When all the flocks were gathered there, the shepherds would roll the... okay. And here we go. I fell into my own trap. This is the most common thing that happens on this channel. The next verse answers the exact question that I had. When all the flocks were gathered there, the shepherds would roll the stone away from the well's mouth and water the sheep. I like how they say they water things. We had camels being watered in an earlier chapter. Now sheep are being watered. It makes it sound like they just have like a watering can. Then they would return the stone to its place over the mouth of the well. Yeah, okay. I mean, I guess we could have speculated on how it got back, but I'm glad they actually explicitly told us. Jacob asked the shepherds, "My brothers, where are you from?" Is that how people speak to each other? My brothers? We do that today as well. What's up, bro? How's it going, brother? "We're from Haran," they replied. He said to them, "Do you know Laban? Laban from Haran?" We learned about him before, if you've watched up until this point. "Nahor's grandson?" "Yes, we know him," they answered. Population was probably small enough that everybody knew everybody back in the day. It's kind of like when you go to like a small town and literally anywhere and all the people know each other because there just aren't enough people to go around. That's how you get incest. Then Jacob asked them, "Is he well?" "Yes, he is." This is like when someone's learning English and they have to study specific conversations on how the language works. Let's read it without the words in between. "My brothers, where are you from?" "We are from Haran." "Do you know Laban, Nahor's grandson?" "Yes, we know him." "Is he well?" "Yes, he is. And here comes his daughter Rachel with the sheep." "Look," he said, "the sun is still high. It's not time for the flocks to be gathered. Water the sheep and take them back to the pasture." "We can't," they replied. "Oh, why can't you do it? Why can't you water the sheep?" "Until all the flocks are gathered and the stone has been rolled away from the mouth of the well. Then we will water the sheep." I can see, before earlier in this series, I implied criticism on the church for only really spending time on certain parts of the Bible, like certain stories, famous stories are hammered over and over again. It's like, oh, we never learn anything else. Well, I think we've learned why. We can't gather the sheep until the stone has been rolled away from the mouth of the well. Then we will water the sheep. This is so boring. Why are they telling the story this way as well? This is another one of those things that could have been summed up so quickly, but they give all this embellishment that I don't understand. If there's a reason for this embellishment, please educate me, because I don't see the purpose in it. While he was still talking with them, Rachel came with her father's sheep, for she was a shepherd, a female shepherd. How about that? That's interesting, and you know what? I'm saying a lot before I actually read everything, so I don't even have a lot of context, but people in the church that I grew up in, which is a very conservative branch of the church, they love to draw comparisons and analogies between people in the Bible and then later figures, Jesus being the most common one. And specifically in this case, because this is why I'm bringing this up, Jesus is always referred to as a shepherd. Well, not only have I never heard this comparison between Rachel being a shepherd, a female shepherd, and Jesus, but women in general just aren't really given a lot of focus. And where I grew up, they weren't even allowed to teach. We had stories and times and sermons occasionally that would talk about like the strong women of the Bible, but they weren't allowed to like be on stage or give a sermon. They were allowed to lead the children's classes because none of the men wanted to do it, but they couldn't teach adults. When Jacob saw Rachel, daughter of his uncle Laban, so uncle's daughter, that's his cousin, and Laban's sheep, he went over and rolled the stone away from the mouth of the well and watered his uncle's sheep. Then Jacob kissed Rachel and began to weep aloud. That's a pretty sudden turn of events. He had told Rachel that he was a relative of her father and a son of Rebekah. So she ran and told her father. Okay, so he was excited or moved or just overcome with emotion at finding a family member. Hopefully he doesn't try to marry this one. As soon as Laban heard the news about Jacob, his sister's son, he hurried to meet him. He embraced him and kissed him and brought him to his home. And there Jacob told him all these things. Then Laban said to him, "You are my own flesh and blood." Just a normal conversation between an uncle and his nephew. All right, we've got our next section title, same chapter. This title is called Jacob Marries Leah and Rachel. So there were just no limits to the number of women you could marry. And what happened to Rebekah? Oh, Rebekah was Isaac's wife, so I got that wrong. Jacob didn't marry anyone? No, he hasn't, because Isaac, okay, yeah, that was the whole thing. Isaac was sending him to marry someone from his own family. Yeah, that's what I said in the last video. Okay, so now we get to see the outcome of this situation. Just like Isaac went to marry someone from his own family, Isaac now sends Jacob back to marry, to keep marrying into the family. It's like purebloods in Harry Potter. After Jacob had stayed with him for a whole month, Laban said to him, "Just because you're a relative of mine, should you work for me for nothing? Tell me what your wages should be." Man, back in the day, the labor force was so much more generous. Can you imagine like going to a Chick-fil-A or a McDonald's and they're like, "How much do you think you should be paid?" Now Laban had 2 daughters. The name of the older was Leah, and the name of the younger was Rachel. Leah had weak eyes. What does that mean? Leah had weak eyes, but Rachel had a lovely figure and was beautiful. Jacob was in love with Rachel. Of course. He doesn't want a weak-eyed hoe. Jacob was in love with Rachel and said, "I'll work for you for 7 years in return for your younger daughter, Rachel." The younger daughter with the lovely figure and was beautiful, not the one with weak eyes. Laban said, "It's better I give her to you than some other man." "Stay here with me. Stay, work for me. I'll give you my daughter, your cousin. The younger, more beautiful, more enticing one without the weak eyes." So Jacob served 7 years to get Rachel, but they seemed like only a few days to him because of his love for her. There we go. Romance in the Bible. See, the Bible told us a whole story about watering sheep, but then in one sentence it goes, 7 years passed. No other information. Then Jacob said to Laban, "Give me my wife." He's calling her his wife before he even marries her. "My time is completed and I want to make love to her." Yeah. I want to make love to my wife. So Laban brought all the Laban from Haran. This is the same one, the same Dr. Seuss guy we read about earlier. So Laban brought together all the people of the place and gave a feast. But when evening came, he took his daughter Leah and brought her to Jacob. And Jacob made love to her. And what's happening? He spent 7 years supposedly in love with Rachel. It says it passed like nothing because he loved her. But the moment, maybe he hasn't gotten any for 7 years and he's just so desperate that he closes his eyes and makes love to Leah instead. Why would he just take her like that? And why are they okay with multiple wives? Why are Christians not okay with that today? They did it all the time back then. God's the same before, now, and forever. He was okay with it then. Why isn't he okay with it now? People will say it's because it's like the old law that he brought Jesus in the New Testament, and that was like a new law, and so now we live by new standards. But then in the same breath, they'll also say that God never changes and that he is the same and eternal, omnipotent, omniscient. Those words get thrown around a lot. That's why I know them, is because I grew up in the church. But let's get back to Jacob making love to his less preferred cousin. And Laban gave his servant Zilpah to his daughter as her attendant. When morning came, there was Leah. Okay, I think the implication here is that they had a big party and Jacob got really drunk, which is also funny because, again, I mentioned my church a lot, but I've already done it this video. The church I grew up in is against, the more conservative branches are against drinking alcohol. I grew up in a more progressive one, so like a lot of the adults around me were fine with it. You wouldn't see them doing it much, but like you knew that they drank or that they were at least okay with it. My grandparents, however, were teetotalists. That's the name for the official like religious term for that when you don't drink. I mean, it just means you don't drink alcohol. But they would justify stories or defend like accusations of alcohol being in the Bible by saying they were actually just drinking grape juice. So I'll certainly mention this again when we get there in the New Testament, but there's a famous story of Jesus turning water into wine. And their claim is that it was young wine, meaning grape juice, and didn't have any alcohol in it. Now we've got this story. My grandfather's passed away. He was a preacher. He would be horrified if he found out I was doing this. If he's up there watching, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Papa. You would not be happy about this channel. I'd be genuinely interested in knowing what they think about this passage, because like the clear implication to me is that he did not realize who he slept with, and he threw a great feast. That is what it said, right? Yeah, Laban brought together all the people of the place and gave a feast. And when morning came, there was Leah. So Jacob said to Laban, "What is this you have done to me? I served you for Rachel, didn't I? Why have you deceived me?" So Jacob did not know that he slept with the woman he loves sister, also his cousin, the wrong cousin. "What have you done to me? You gave me the wrong cousin." Laban replied, "It's not our custom here to give the younger daughter in marriage before the older one." Oh, okay. Sneaks his way out of that one. You should have known, Jacob. If you wanted to get to her, she would have had to have been married first, but since she hasn't married in the last 7 years because of her weak eyes, maybe he just found like an opportunity to pawn off his older daughter that he knew wasn't going to get married. He's like, she's past her prime. Her eyes are weak. It's dark. You're drunk. Here she is. Here's Rachel. This is so gross. "Finish this daughter's bridal week, and then we will give you the younger one also, in return for another 7 years of work." I mean, to be fair, this is perfectly in line with the Dr. Seuss character. Laban from Haran knew exactly what he was doing. He goes, "Gotcha! You're going to need another 7 years if you want to be with the cousin you love." And Jacob did so. Here we go again, another large swath of time without any explanation. And Jacob did so. He finished the week with Leah, and Laban gave him his daughter Rachel to be his wife. Laban gave his servant Bilhah to his daughter Rachel as her attendant. So each daughter comes with a servant. So then the man doesn't have to do anything. Just have the servant do what the woman needs. Jacob made love with Rachel also, and his love for Rachel was greater than his love for Leah. Leah has the short end of the stick in this story. She is insulted. She's given away because she's old with her weak eyes. It openly states that he loved her less than Rachel, but she's tied now to Jacob forever. There's no way she had rights. There's no way she had rights for herself. And he worked for Laban another 7 years. Oh boy. What a ride. I mean, I had heard that story before. That's another common one that people bring up in the Bible a lot, but it's been a while since I've read it. I don't remember any of those details. Oh boy, there's one last short little section here at the end of chapter 29. It's called Jacob's Children. I'm sure he's going to have a lot now. This was God's solution to spreading Abraham's seed, literally and metaphorically. When the Lord saw that Leah was not loved, he enabled her to conceive. But Rachel remained childless. What in the world? He's picking and choosing. God, the Lord, is picking and choosing fertility for these two women because Leah's not loved. I mean, if he can do anything, why not just bring a man who loves her? Esau's still back in whatever town he's in. He's upset. He probably needs to let some energy out. Or literally any other guy. Could be anyone. God can just use his little love potion. Yeah, God won't touch your free will, but he will make you infertile. Leah became pregnant and gave birth to a son. She named him Reuben, because Reubens are delicious. She named him Reuben, for she said, "It is because the Lord has seen my misery. Surely my husband will love me now." Okay, they don't know any better because it's the Bible, but if you think your husband doesn't love you, do not have children with him. That will not solve the problem. At most, it's a temporary fix. At most. She conceived again, and when she gave birth to a son, she said, "Because the Lord heard that I am not loved." She knows, I guess. That's really sad. "He gave me this one too." So she named him Simeon. Again she conceived, but when she gave birth to a son, so she's just popping out baby after baby. I mean, yeah, apparently, Jacob's not afraid of making love to both wives, even though he only apparently loves one of them. Still happy to reproduce with both women, or try to. Again she conceived, and when she gave birth to his son, she said, "Now at last my husband will become attached to me, because I've borne him 3 sons." So he was named Levi. This is the guy who has Joseph, because of Joseph in the Technicolor Dreamcoat. I was in that musical, and my character was Levi. I played Levi. I didn't make the connection until now. So Simeon, so she's just going to keep having a lot of babies. Yeah, because the song at the end of Joseph in the Technicolor Dreamcoat, the lyrics are, "So Jacob came to Egypt. So Jacob came to Egypt." It's like the final song that closes everything. "No longer feeling old." She conceived again. Now I'm excited. The chapter's almost over, but I'm fired up. She conceived again, and when she gave birth to a son, she said, "This time I will praise the Lord." So yeah, I guess she was just concerned with her husband's love that entire time. Now she's going to praise the Lord. So she named him Judah. Then she stopped having children. So she only had 4 kids. I know that one of Joseph's brothers is Levi. Here's my guess. Here's my prediction without reading ahead, because I actually don't know and I don't remember. My guess is that Rachel now starts having kids, and that's where the 12 brothers of Joseph, I believe it's 12. There's like 12 brothers, and there's Benjamin, who might be a 13th. I don't know. We're going to have to find out. We're getting into some fun stories, some juicy stories. Joseph is a big one. Joseph goes through Egypt, the king of Egypt, and it's probably one of the most interesting stories, all the plagues of Egypt, which is, the Prince of Egypt. The Prince of Egypt is the name of the amazing animated movie with fantastic music. Even if you're not religious, there's probably, I'm positive there's going to be religious people watching this channel. But even if you're not religious, let me just tell you, as a fellow non-religious person, that movie is amazing. The animation is great, the acting and voice acting is great, the writing is great, and the music is fantastic. Even if I was someone who didn't like musicals growing up, I like them more now. I'm not like a musical person, but I'm more tolerant towards them. There's some that I do like. I think Hamilton is excellent. I like Les Mis. But The Prince of Egypt, great music, great bangers, banger tracks all the way through. And the popular Reddit story is that apparently DreamWorks was making The Prince of Egypt as their big movie. It was going to be their huge release with all the best animators and all their best creators. And then if you didn't perform well enough, they would put you on their secondary movie, and they would say that you got Shrek'd, because the second movie that they were making was Shrek, the 2001 cult classic, one of the best animated movies of all time, way outshined Prince of Egypt. Did so much better. Everybody knows Shrek, but not a lot of people know the story of Joseph. So anyways, that's my recommendation. Come back for chapter 30 and see where the rest of Joseph's brothers come from.